it doesn't mean that, yes, so again, hello. Um, I appreciate your interest, because I hope you will learn something new. Um, because again, as Hyatt said, there is something different from what I'm trying to achieve. Basically, show you different ways of maybe like blind spots, what the society is not teaching us. There are no presentations like this at school, right, or universities, or families don't teach us about this. And I think we should change that. The whole world should learn about how to get ready for a relationship, right? And how to choose the right partner for us, right? And how to build relationships. It's something quite new to many cultures. So again, about myself, I am the certified NLP master practitioner. But not only I learned about these topics from books, right, or NLP manuals. It's also from my personal experience. I'm a practitioner because I practice everything I showed you today. And again, this is the second presentation in a series of 3 presentations. The next one will be in August on how to actually build a relationship once you met the right person. So with that, I will share the slides and we'll go from there. All right. So the importance of choosing the right partner, right? Or finding the person who is most compatible to us. And what I want to start with, if you look on the right, you see some of the examples from either real life or, movies that we all come to this point in our lives that we have to choose the right partner. And yes, there are situations when people choose right and they have a happy life together. The Notebook is on the upper right picture, when the heroine in the movie had to choose from 2 very different people, and she did make the right choice, even though people around her were against her choice, right? But she chose right, and actually they had a really happy life, even though she struggled with a disease later in life. But they even died on the same day with her husband, which is kind of like this fairy tale ending, right? And then the one below, you see The Bachelorette. Even though I'm very skeptical about the show, because success rates are very low of those who actually stay together and get married. However, this particular woman, she was the first African-American bachelorette. She, again, against her parents' choice and others on the show, she chose a man that everyone thought was very unlikely match for her. However, they fell in love and they're married right now. They live together actually in Los Angeles, where I am. So the question is this: do people always make right choice? Not. Of course not, because otherwise, we wouldn't have broken hearts and all kinds of scenarios. But I want to tell you about 3 major dangers, right, when we don't choose right, and why we're doing so. So the first one is actually when we had a really bad breakup, right? We really got hurt in a relationship or in some kind of romance. And then we got so, in a way, jaded, right, and upset that we lost faith in other people, and maybe even in our ability to choose right. So we kind of close off, and some people decide to be single forever because they don't trust anyone, they don't want to get hurt. So from the NLP point of view, what's happening, we develop this fear from something that happened in real life to us, and then we protect ourselves because we don't want to get in this situation again. And we're kind of not allowing ourselves to kind of maybe risk our comfort, and we're feeling really vulnerable. The other scenario is that we maybe had a really bad model of a relationship, maybe comes from our parents, someone we know, we don't want to be just like them. So again, we stop ourselves from being open and willing to try it out again and build new relationships. So we decide to just kind of be alone and maybe bitter. And this is obviously something that we need to work on. The second one is that we keep choosing wrong partners. And it's kind of a repetitive model, right? That we kind of fall for the person we're really in love with, our type, but it ends badly. Maybe after some time, it just has the same scenario, right? And why is it happening again? So we don't want to do that. And the last one, obviously, is that we made the choice and we thought it was the right choice, but however, it ended up to be badly for us or people involved in this relationship. And we all know people stuck in unhappy marriages and really regretting that they made the wrong choice. So I guess here the question is this: can we really trust our own judgment, right? And in what situations we can, in what situations we shouldn't. And actually, I'll tell you the main kind of recipe here. But first, I want you to ask this question: have you met someone, or do you know someone in your life, right, that you thought would never match? They were so weird, or they were so picky, right? And you're like, oh my God, this person will be like alone for the rest of their life. And obviously, you thought it based on your desired criteria in a partner, right? Or only a desired criteria of a partner of others, people around you, again, social media or society. However, this person found their match. And you're wondering, what's happening? I thought they would never find anyone. However, they did. And I want to kind of give you example from this movie, Shallow Hell. Some of you watched it. And not even the main character, but his friend. I know it's a kind of a strange scenario, but he was born with some kind of like deformity. He had like an operable little tail. And he was so ashamed of it because obviously it's not accepted in the society. And he was afraid of getting close to people, right? And kind of showing his vulnerability. So he never got close to anyone. He behaved in this way because he was afraid of being rejected and ridiculed. And the friend suggested to him, he said, why don't you find someone who likes dogs? Who loves dogs. Dogs have tails and they may accept you for what you are. And this is the main ingredient. So we need to find a person who accepts us the way we are, right? And I have to tell you, people with all kinds of situations find partners. Serial killers who are in jail, they sometimes meet partners through letters, right? And they write to each other and they open up and they come out of jail and get married and have happy families. People with all kinds of deformities. So again, it's important to find someone who accepts our not only strengths, but maybe our weaknesses. So now I want to talk about two different types of attraction. And we're all kind of familiar with those, but the first one is basically a short-lived one, right? It's a short-term attraction. And I would call it biological. It's designed by nature because we are biological creatures, right? We get born and we live and we procreate and we die. However, this is designed by nature in this way that it's not supposed to last. You meet someone, you get infatuated, you mate, you have children, and you kind of move on. And I have a picture of the bear here because it's the mother bear with her child, with her cub. I don't know if you know, but father bears are not really existent in the lives of their children. The mating season is very short. They impregnate the mother bear and basically disappear. And that's how it's designed because nature doesn't want the father bear to be a threat to its cubs. But a lot of species operate this way. A lot of birds. So fathers are not present to be there in a long, loving relationship for the rest of their lives, so take care of their kids, right? And clearly humans are different. Some choose to kind of copy behavior of animals. Others go and do some things differently. We'll talk about it later. But here I also want to mention some other scenarios would actually make us behave this way, right? Get infatuated and kind of fall into this abyss, which is very short-lived. One of them is actually falling for your type. You have a type of a person that you have in your mind, an ideal partner. And again, qualities very often we copy it from either our childhood, right? Desired qualities from our family, or social media, romances, and throughout our lives. Or we actually really want something like a missing quality that we don't have, but we really want to have it in our partner because of the natural desire of a human to be a complete individual. So we naturally gravitate to something we don't have, especially if we admire that. And the danger here is that we may overlook other important qualities while we pursue what we're missing in ourselves. And then also familiar patterns, or we also called it old programs in NLP, meaning that you watched growing up a pattern of behavior of your parents or caregivers. And even though maybe you didn't like that, that's the only program you know. How to behave, right? How to show love, how to interact with the opposite sex. And some of the programs completely maybe not working for you. You don't like them, but you keep recreating them because that's all you know. You recognize it because they are familiar, right? Another thing is similarity. Some people look for similar partners who have similar qualities. However, we may need some other qualities to keep our relationship long term, right? There is obviously physical attraction and safety. Some people choose partners because of safety, and it could manifest in different ways. Safety, for example, if a woman is looking for a stronger and bigger partner, so in physical sense, safety, right? Or someone says, oh, I chose her or him because they were a safe bet. They're not going to cheat on me. They're going to be, stable. They're going to be there, and our relationship will last longer, which is also not always the case, right? So I want to kind of jump to the other type, long-term. And this one is different. It doesn't have to be for procreational purposes. We all know couples who live long lives happily and they don't have kids. Obviously, some do have kids. It is their choice whether to pursue that or not. But I want to kind of highlight the differences, right? The short-term versus long-term. Again, first it was mentioned the soulmate concept by Plato in the play Symposium. However, it was kind of interpreted differently throughout the centuries. And the main thing I want to tell you that it starts with just obviously recognizing the other person. And they may have ordinary looks, right? Or ordinary intellect. It's not something that immediately stands out and you're like crazily obsessed about it, right? It's something that you noticed. But then what really is important is happening here, that you recognize the person's strengths, right? There is some kind of polarity. And what I mean by that, it's usually respect for the other person, for their values, right? The way they are. And obviously there is some kind of possibility of attraction, right? Attraction in a way that, it could be, maybe not your first choice, but, there is a possibility of something. We'll see how that goes with time. With time, you uncover layers of a character of this particular person, right? And you get to know them in reality, like true self. Certain things that may be ugly truths that they don't even admit to everyone, right? Some people may never know. And that's the difference between short term, when we are kind of in this illusion of the other person and we add certain qualities to their character that they not possess. Here, it's the other way. We see true person, their strengths, their weaknesses, and we accept them. Okay, we accept them. And the next step, we see what their emotional needs are, aspirations, right? And we help them achieve those in their lives. So why do we mistake short-term for long-term attraction, right? Because usually it starts with thinking, yeah, there's a possibility of it to be real, to be long-lasting. So what happens, right? What is the explanation? And usually it is that we don't know our blind side, right? And basically what it means, something that we are not seeing in them and they are not telling us, okay? And it could be intentional or unintentional, right? And sometimes people don't say certain things because they're afraid of losing the partner or afraid of rejection. So they may not say some things and kind of misrepresent themselves. And then when they see us, right, is the other person going to accept us? And then not only accept us, but choose us and commit to us. And will we do the same when we see true person, right? True colors, strengths and weaknesses, will we accept them? So before jumping off this cliff, which I like this picture, saying that it doesn't matter what's going to happen, no matter what other people say, I don't care, we're going to be together, forever, ever. Before jumping off this cliff into this relationship, right? Have your parachute, have your safeguards, because they may really be needed later on. So how do we deal with that, right? So basically, first step is understanding that there is uncertainty and there should be exploration of the character of the person. And look at this picture. I mean, if you're standing maybe somewhere on this path, you don't see the whole picture, right? How long it is and how curvy it is. So we obviously need to get prepared that only time will show what the person is. And again, when we just meet people, we apply our previous experiences, right, and our imagination, and we misjudge. Sometimes we overestimate or we underestimate people. So we have to understand there is no commitment at this stage in the beginning, right? It's all about collecting information and testing the connection. And to start maybe with what's important for us in the relationship, right? Writing it down. Then get into authenticity. Again, strengths and weaknesses of the person. Can we accept their flaws and weaknesses? And then finding compatibility. When we really know the person, whole picture, are we really compatible long-term? And do we have things in common, things to talk about and to resolve conflict? So obviously, to navigate through this kind of curvy road of uncertainty, we do need GPS, right? And I would recommend these 7 steps, which could be really helpful. The first one, just reveal your deal breakers to the person. And I know it could be very vulnerable at times, right? Reveal your deal breakers and ask for theirs. And the second one is basically really think about it. Do the person, do they have the qualities that you admire? It is really important because if the person is kind of, it's okay person, when things become difficult, right? There will be situations that you will be frustrated with the person. There will be some kind of tension. If you don't have qualities that you really admire in a person, you may have nothing to stay in a relationship for because everything may evaporate. So the third one, it's basically the reality check, and it's a really important one because, again, as I said, misrepresentations and sometimes false statements happen. People may exaggerate their achievements and kind of try to impress you, or just hide some information they're ashamed of. So it is actually important to learn more about the person, and you could start with just meeting friends of that person, right? And learning about the friends, and also just maybe presenting certain situations that you want the opinion of the person you're seeing, right? And for example, if something is really, really important to you, tell a story about a friend who doesn't know what to do in this difficult situation about the issue at hand, right? And ask, what do they do in this situation? What would they do, right? Their choice. And you may, ask opinion about several different stories in different variations. So it's just one type of reality check. But I would say that in nowadays, with so much, online being, faker profiles, and people kind of trying to portray themselves in the best possible way, there may be a lot of information that's just not not real. So it's obviously good to do a reality check anyways. But obviously finding out, is this person truly single, right? Because they may be married, maybe in a relationship, and kind of misrepresenting their situation. Or do they really work where they say they work, right? There are ways to find out more information about that. Also, there is the holistic check. So when you really know all the kind of nice positive qualities about the person, and you also know not so positive, maybe kind of weaknesses, kind of compare them. Do the positives outweigh the negatives in your opinion, right? And if something you don't like, good question is, can you ignore or accept it, right? Because there may be some things that annoy you. And then if something is really, really bothering you, so it's almost like a deal breaker, ask the question, are they willing to change? And you see, I think a lot of people, they make this mistake assuming that the other person would not accept them, right? And they just disappear or they break up the relationship. But if you really ask the person, can they change something? And it could be quit smoking. For someone, it could be really, really important. It's a deal breaker. Or some people would even change their religion, right? Because for the other partner, if it's really important for your partner and you're really in love with them, and it's not something that will kill you, you're willing to do it. So it is really possible. So then the acceptance part is that, can they accept our flaws and weaknesses, right? And if not, are we willing to change for them, right? It's a really important step. And after we figured that out, then there is obviously reciprocity. Can we meet each other's emotional needs? And there's another presentation about this, and I will talk about it next time. But basically, do we help each other grow, right? And be happy individuals who have, fulfilling lives. And obviously, we may want more of, energy of being, accepted or validated and respected. And it goes by fulfilling our emotional needs. And are we a better version of ourselves with them? And here is really important one thing. If not, look at the emotional needs. It means that either you are not fulfilling their emotional needs or they are not fulfilling yours. And you can look at which ones and maybe adjust something, right? So that when that person gives you what you really, really need, you will be a better version of yourself with them. Okay, so other questions to ask. What is love to them? And we all know about 5 love languages. Ask them, what do you think if you are together in a relationship, what do they want? Words of affirmation, maybe gifts, or spending time together, or helping in difficult situations, right? And tell them what love is to you. Also, what are their values? Again, values are important, but when a person says one word, it's not enough. What does it really mean to that person? For example, honesty, right? what does honesty mean? That you tell about everything you do, full transparency, right? Or honesty means that you are, truthful and actually honest and faithful. So there should be some definitions of the important things in your life, of your values, and see if they're aligned. Because if one person wants completely different things, it may not work long term. And obviously, what their deal breakers? What do they really want in life? If the person says to you, "I really want to quit civilization and in 3 years live in the forest, of I don't know, maybe a jungle in Brazil, self-sustainable, and you want to see, live in a city, it may not work, right? If it's totally far from what you envisioned for yourself. What are they really afraid of? What do they have to do? Because people may have obligations and they won't tell you up front, but they may say, "Oh, I have a child from previous marriage and I will always be in their lives. I will support them." Or, "I have another relative I have to take care of." Or, I'm committed to this mission, right? And I'm an active partner in this church, in my community. Uh, and you may not be okay with that, right? So you need to work it out. And what is the attachment style, which is also important? Some people want to spend every minute together. Other people are good with just spending a couple of days a week. So it's also important to see what the expectations are. And obviously, are they willing to change what you can't accept? So now, when we know a lot about the partner, right? So we kind of covered authenticity and we revealed ourselves. So now the question is, are we really compatible? And there are different ways to go about it. Obviously, I recommend being, open to different surveys and tools just to learn more about yourselves. Even though sometimes, again, very unlikely, matches happen and no one saw it coming, but people really connect. And this is one of them. It's Helen Fisher's formula for romance. But basically, it also comes to your energy. So for example, there are 4 types here: explorer, builder, director, and negotiator. So the director has more masculine energy, making decisions, and be more kind of stubborn, right? So that kind of type may be better matched with someone who is a negotiator, who has more negotiating skills, right, and more builder than just decision maker. And again, once you know each other types, you may decide on how you resolve conflict, right? Who makes the decisions? How to make it fair for both of you, to make it work long term. And obviously, the 4 elements of attraction I already mentioned previously. But what they recommend that not everything should be different in those 2 people. Obviously, there should be some similarities, and not everything should be the same, because there should be this polarization, right? Some kind of interest, some kind of diversity in the relationship, that maybe you have different topics of conversations because you maybe have different looks on life in your approaches, right? Mentally, intellectually. And it would be always interesting to hear another person's opinion about it. However, in terms of emotional part, it's good that the other person, the partner, understands how to comfort you in difficult situations. And what comes to mind is star signs, horoscopes, right? Sometimes they say, oh, certain people, for example, water and air don't really match together, just because their approaches are so different, especially in difficult situations. And you need the partner, at least, if not to be the same, to understand your kind of perception of the situation, right? And how to comfort you, how to make you feel better about it, not just neglecting you and just leaving you to deal with it on your own. And also about spiritual things, that's kind of values. And here we're talking about people who may be kind of bound by a mission in life, right? They have certain vision. They want to save the world, right? So they like to do a charity together. charity work, or they may have similar religion, or they have other values that help them to kind of feel this belonging, that they belong to each other because they have the sameness in something that's really important to them. And then finally, I just want to kind of maybe again mention a couple of things to highlight. We do have our lists. Even if you never wrote it down, the qualities in the desired qualities in your partner, you may have a mental list. And some people's lists are very long. I want them to be this way and this way, and again, some of them outdated because we picked up those qualities, throughout our lives, and some of them are not helping us because we're limiting ourselves in finding this potentially really good match for ourselves, right? So what I recommend, write down everything if you haven't done it and look at this, right? And ask the questions here. Are we guided by this missing quality, right? Or chasing the wrong person who is just our type? And again, we keep repeating the same mistake because maybe this is this is the mistake we're making. We should be looking for other qualities, and this is the type that is just not working for us. And maybe I need to change my list drastically, right? And again, important questions are they what they say, right? How do they make us feel? Like, do they fulfill our emotional needs? Do they accept us, our weaknesses? Can they create positive relationships? And here, what I really want to tell you is that if a person didn't have successful relationships in the past, it doesn't mean that they're not capable of creating one. Actually, they may be ready and willing. It just they need the right partner, right, to build this relationship with. And do they respect our boundaries, which is really important. There will always be clashes and kind of requests to do certain things we may not be comfortable with. So it's important, as I said, respect and this polarity strengths in the partner. Basically respect for themselves and respecting the other person. This is what boundaries are about. And are they capable of trust and commitment? And here I actually want to mention maturity, right? Because some people say, as a person, right? Because when we are a teenager and then we start kind of growing, we kind of learn about it. And maybe in the beginning, we're very naive or dependent on the other person, we're kind of looking for guidance. However, as we learn more about life and love, we become a little bit more mature, but we still may have certain programs, right? We may be either too controlling or too rational about it. And here it's important to know that even if the person is not very mature, it is possible to build a relationship with them. It just it will take more work, creating more boundaries, and obviously kind of getting to know each other and communicating what's needed for the partner to be kind of fulfilled in the relationship. So again, it is possible, but the person needs to really prove it again, and that's why we need to take some time to discover more about the person. And again, do our energies complement? If we have exact energy, we may be clashing just because we're missing other qualities that would help us to fulfill ourselves, but we should not be blinded by them. And again, in terms of missing qualities, another solution is to look for people, friends in our lives, right, who have that quality that we really desire, or cultivate this quality in ourselves. And again, those qualities could be, I really want someone really fit, or I want someone who travels a lot, or I want someone who has interesting hobbies. We have the ability to cultivate it or have a circle of friends with those qualities. And then finally, does this person really care about us, right? And we don't want to be in a relationship with someone who says it's, my way or highway. Basically, if you don't do what I say, it's over. Because there's always some kind of compromise, right? Again, it has to be respectful, um, and not about things that are really important, like our values, right? Our morals. But little things we can help our partner with something, and then they will help us in return with something maybe they don't really want to do, but they'll do for us because they want to make us happy. So this is the list um, of checking whether we are compatible in the long run. Obviously, learning how to deal with conflict and compromise. And I would recommend writing down on a piece of paper all the qualities that you look in a partner, and putting it in a box, okay? And then review the list several months later. And kind of every several months, just checking the list and then figuring out, is it really important in my partner, or can I take this off this list and maybe add something new? Because ultimately, the most important question is this: um, what can't we give up for, right? When we really answer this question, these qualities will be on the list. Everything else will be taken off, because everything else will be flexible. You will be open to some, maybe be surprised by the universe. But as long as the person proves that they're there for you, they appreciate you, and they really appreciate you in the way you appreciate them, right? With the whole package, not just certain qualities. And obviously working what's important to you through communication. This is the way to work on this. So I guess this is it. And the next one will be once you met the right person, how to build a relationship in August. And I think with that, we